So people ask me, what are the lawsuits against the St. Croix Oil Refinery about? And I'll break them into two types. There's the asbestos-related diseases, and then there's the non-asbestos-related diseases. Asbestos is a mineral that was woven into insulation, into gaskets. It has a lot of fire-preventing properties. It does not burn. So it was used to minimize the risk of fire at different industrial and refinery locations. The problem with that is asbestos, when it's broken into dust, makes little razors, long needles that are microscopic and that are easily inhaled. And once it goes into the lungs, those needles stick in the lungs and stab the lungs over decades, millions of times, to make the lungs like a big scab that loses its elasticity. So for many of the workers in the refinery, whether they started there in 1966 or they worked through the early 1990s, they were never told that they were working with materials that contained asbestos. So they did not know they needed to protect themselves. The company failed to warn them. So our lawsuits are for that failure to warn, and also the illness or disease that's been caused by the exposure to asbestos. Now, asbestos also increases the risk of cancers. So some people can develop throat cancer, lung cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer, and rectal cancer. And you'll be thinking, well, wait, it's also getting down through the mouth into the stomach, colon, and rectum? Well, yes, because there's so much in the air that men are not only breathing it and it's going into the lungs, but it's also getting into the mouth and the mucus of the nose and the mouth, which is then swallowed, where it gets into the stomach and is stabbing the stomach, and then it's stabbing the intestines, and then it's stabbing the colon and rectum, and those can trigger and cause cancers. So my office and my team work with former workers at the St. Croix Oil Refinery that are either suffering from asbestosis lung scarring or from throat, lung, stomach, colon, or rectal related asbestos cancers. Another concern about workers that are exposed to asbestos is the St. Croix Oil Refinery from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s never set up a changing room for the men who work their shift or even double shift. They never set up a changing room for them to have showers and laundry services to change out of their work clothes. So thousands and thousands of men left that refinery when the shift was over and jumped in their cars or taxis or rides and went home. They went home to their loved ones where they dropped their clothes off, and generally they had a spouse or even an older daughter that washed those clothes. So my office also helps women, daughters, and some sons that would have hugged their father or washed those clothes, and they've been now secondhand exposed to asbestos while they were shaking out those clothes. And they have now either lung scarring or, God spare life, a throat cancer, a lung cancer, a stomach cancer, colon or rectal cancer. And one thing I know about my clients who went into that refinery, they went into the refinery to help and support their family. If they ever knew that they were working with asbestos, a dangerous and deadly dust, they would have never gotten in their car or their ride home to expose their family. They love their families, and that's one of the best proofs of evidence that these workers were never told that they were dealing with asbestos-contained insulation and asbestos in gaskets, because they'd have never gone home to expose their family. They were there in the refinery to take care of their family, not to bring danger home to their family. Let's talk about the non-asbestos related cancers. Now, all refineries are known for an increased risk of cancers within a 20-mile radius. There's numerous studies showing that the different chemicals and gases that refineries produce create an elevated cancer risk, with the epicenter being in the refinery itself. My office's main concern is exposure to hydrocarbons, benzenes, toluenes, xylene, and another chemical called gamelin. These are all these highly evaporative, volatile chemicals that can either be breathed in or even absorbed through the skin. So we've seen workers that are diagnosed with leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, those are blood cancers, and also other workers that have liver, kidney, or pancreatic cancers that are related to their exposure to these toxic chemicals and gases. I know if you've had this type of cancer or diagnosis, you may have had to leave the Virgin Islands for treatment, and it's very difficult So please contact my office and we'll see if we can help you and your family to get compensation and justice.